Good morning. It's April 25th, 2022. This is To My Liberal Friends, and I'm John Haddo. I'm traveling up here in Portland to see some family members, and this Saturday I was notified of a very sad moment for me. My first boss in Washington, D.C., and my mentor in life, Senator Orrin Hatch, passed away at age 88. And I want to talk a little bit about Orrin because I've known him since I was 12 years old. I did the grassroots in his first campaign and worked in his office on two occasions, once in his personal office and another time in the committee some 10 years later. When Senator Hatch first came to Washington, he was a Reaganite in 1977, and I came with him. He was considered to be a political bomb thrower at that time, sort of right wing, and not well liked by the establishment Republicans, people like Jacob Javits, Lowell Weicker, from Connecticut, Clifford Case from New Jersey. These were established Republicans who didn't look like Reagan. But 4 years later, Reagan won the presidency, and surprisingly, Republicans took control of the Senate. Now, Orrin Hatch had been put on the Senate Labor and Human Resources Committee, a committee that most Republicans didn't like to be on, and suddenly, in 4 years, he was the chairman of a full Senate committee, almost unheard of. And he no longer could be someone who just said no to stuff. He had to be somebody who now scheduled the hearings, crafted the legislation, took it to a markup in committee, moved it to the Senate floor where he would manage the bill and get it passed. The ranking member at that time was Senator Ted Kennedy from Massachusetts. Now, Hatch and Kennedy differed politically on just about everything, but over time they developed a very close personal relationship. And as a result of that, they were able to negotiate things and pass significant legislation that benefited the country. They passed a children's health insurance program, CHIP, which is monumental in making sure young children have health care. Senator Hatch worked with Howard Metzenbaum, a liberal Democrat from Ohio, to get public health clinic legislation passed. He worked with Henry Waxman, a liberal from California, to pass the Hatch-Waxman amendments to the Food and Drug Act. That created the generic drug industry. I'd go on and on of things that he passed, and he was one of the most prolific legislators in the history of the Senate. And one of the reasons is he learned to be a legislator, and he learned how to talk to the other side and to compromise. And that list of legislation goes on and on. It includes the Downwinder Act, the Orphan Drug Act for rare diseases, Religious Freedom Act. The man knew how to get things done. So how does that apply to what's going on today? As sad as that news was, people in Congress could look at Hatch's career and learn from it. All too often today, we have on both sides people just saying, no, I'm not talking to the other side, I want it all my way. We've watched that with the current administration. Joe Biden came into office claiming to be a uniter and somebody who would be a moderate. As I've said before, he's been anything but. They tried to pass everything under the reconciliation process, which requires only 50 votes since they have the vice presidency. That's not what the reconciliation process was intended to do, and both sides, I will admit, have abused that rule. But they tried to pass their multi-trillion-dollar Build Back Better bill, and thankfully, Senator Joe Biden and Senator Kyrsten Sinema blocked them from doing it, saying, no, we're going to adhere to Rule 22, the 60-vote rule. We don't want to pass stuff this way. Well, that's led Democrats into a tizzy, castigating everybody but themselves. Now, we've heard Joe Biden over and over refer to his bipartisan infrastructure bill. And the irony is he seems to have forgotten that that meant he negotiated for a bipartisan deal, and you'd think he'd be doing that now. But he's not. He's doubling down. Elizabeth Warren this past weekend said, if Democrats don't pass all this liberal stuff, then we're going to lose. But if we pass it, we might have a chance of winning. She doesn't get it. It's that liberal policies that have helped contribute to inflation, have driven this country into negative ratings for both Congress and the president of unheard numbers. They have to learn how to talk to each other. They need to look at what Hatch and Kennedy put together to negotiate bills that benefited the nation. They weren't all one-sided. They were negotiated out so that each side got something in return for their cooperation. But we don't seem to want to do that in Congress today. And it's sad. it makes me wonder, will we ever get past this? Anyway, this is To My Liberal Friends. Thanks for listening.